There is truth to the old adage, what doesn't kill you will make you stronger. Now, in today's very busy and fast-paced world, our lives may feel like a video that's on fast forward. We multitask across priorities while dealing with all kinds of pressures in our personal and work lives. Does that sound like a bit of your life that I've just explained? Resilience is the thing that keeps you going. But what is it? How do we develop it? How do we grow it? Harold Hillman is a leadership expert, joins me now to discuss. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mary.
And lovely to have you in the studio.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I've noticed some of the quality on some of our interviews has not been so hot today. Something wrong with the recording machine, so really lovely to have a live voice in. So thank you. What is resilience? What's your definition of it?
Well, put simply, it's just the ability to bounce back. It's in the first instance, it's the ability not to be thrown by stressors that come your way. We can never predict in any given day how things are going to unfold. And so we have to get a certain comfort level with vulnerability, and that is feeling like you can't be in control of everything. So people who are resilient really have a good perspective on the fact that they just have to absorb some things that come their way. So it's the ability to take it in, Mary, and then most importantly, it's the ability to bounce back from it pretty quickly. And that's how we typically define a resilient person.
Some people are far more resilient than others.
That's right.
Why the difference?
Well, the first study on psychological resilience was done in the 70s. Prior to that, the word resilient was really used as an engineering term, talking about sort of the structural foundation of buildings. There was a study done in the mid-70s in Hawaii in an impoverished neighborhood, taking a look at the kids who were able to make it out of that neighborhood and actually get on a real positive trajectory. And that was the first time we really began to think about psychological resilience in the sense of there's something about the way you think that actually can help you absorb and, stress and then push through it, bounce back fairly quickly.
Is that more so for the people who have come from the school of hard knocks, where they've had childhoods which have been slightly more brutal and they don't know anything else but to stand up and to go again, as opposed to possibly cotton-wooled sort of childhoods?
Hard knocks definitely helps. And in the case of that first study back in the mid-70s or so, taking a look at kids who grew up in that very kind of environment. So it does help to have lived some life, some real life, bumps, bruises, the trials and the tribulations, basically, of life, because that really gives you then perspective on how to come back, how to really think about adversity.
And that would suggest that older people tend to be more resilient than younger?
It tends to be the case, just in terms of experience and intuition and those types of things, which help you. The perspective comes with experience. And so, yeah, you typically don't find a lot of 70-year-olds. I'll be there soon, Mary.
Aging is a good thing. Aging is a good thing.
Aging is a good thing.
Talk to an aging guy earlier on the show. Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I've just stopped you midstream there. But I don't want to hear any more negativity around age because it's completely inevitable and it's your attitude to it. And there's some really good studies out there that say if you up your attitude about aging, it will be a far more pleasant experience.
I completely agree with you 100%. There is something in terms of what sits under resilience. There was a Harvard Business Review article in 2015 that pulled together a lot of the research on resilience over the last 2 decades. And there were 3 things that people possess, 3 characteristics that typically will define a resilient person. One was the ability to just accept reality. A staunch acceptance of reality. Yeah, we get thrown back by tragedy and things that come our way, but within 24 to 48 hours, are you rebounding? Are you, sort of moving forward with a plan? The second one is a deep belief anchored to strongly held values. For some people, that may be religion or the whole construct of faith. So the faith that something will work out, which helps pull you through adversity. For other people, it might be something like, it's just what the universe wants, or there's something that sort of keeps it in a sort of grounded to what's important. So people tend to have values, strongly held values that they can ground themselves in. And then the third one, Mary, is just this an uncanny ability to improvise. And that these are people who, again, are fairly flexible on their feet. Everything doesn't have to be nailed down. They don't have the need to be in control. As a matter of fact, letting go probably helps very often in pushing through resilience.
I imagine some of resilience is about role modeling also, that if you have got parents or people you admire around you who are quite resilient, is it a learned behavior?
It is a learned behavior. There are some people who you meet and you just go, look, they seem to be wired for fortitude and those types of things. But it is learned, and it correlates significantly with optimism. So there's what we call in psychology, explanatory style. How do you explain things that happen to you? And a person who's an optimist is more likely to feel that they have some sense of control in driving outcomes. A person who's a pessimist sometimes feels that they are sort of helpless. So optimism correlates significantly with resilience, and optimism or pessimism is typically determined by the time we're 6 years of age.
Oh, really?
Fairly early in life. It's based, to your point, it's based on our experiences in terms of whether or not we listen more to the internal critic, which tends to sort of talk us out of things, or listening to the internal coach, which is sort of encouraging us to push forward, think about things in terms of what are probable. And those things are shaped by our early experiences.
Yeah,
in
but
life.
equally, you can have siblings who some are more positively destined and
That's
some
right.
are more negatively tuned,
That's right.
but their role modeling has been identical.
Their role model has been identical. It's just really their relationship with vulnerability. I'll go back to that word. And that is, how perfectly nailed down do you have to have the world in any given day? And for people who have to have it perfectly nailed down, they're going to struggle with resilience a lot versus those who are just more flexible in terms of approach.
Okay, talk us and walk us through the 6 factors that will help build resilience, because we are not giving up on you. If you feel you fall into the category where you probably aren't that resilient, well, here are some top tips to being so.
Well, one we've touched on, which is just keeping things in perspective. It does matter. Step back, step way back from the situation, listen to other people, sort of keep it in perspective. The second thing is, well, it goes along with the first, which is humor. It does help to laugh. It does help. You sort of know that a person is bouncing back when they can just find a little bit of humor in a situation that might otherwise just really stress them out. People who are connected to a larger support network, they tend to be more resilient, typically because people can give them feedback and perspective on how they're coming across. You can't negate exercise and nutrition, Mary, and nurturing a passion, something that feeds your spirit, your soul. People who just lose themselves in an activity, whether it be music or writing or cooking or gardening, where it fills you up with energy. A lot of times when we're running on empty, we don't take time to actually nourish our psyche or our emotive spirit with, just things that fill you up. We don't listen to music enough. We don't hang out with the people who typically fill us with a lot of energy. And we tend to we fit those things in when we're under stress, when we really should be building them in.
Yeah. Keep the good around you. Thank you, Harold. They're excellent. Just quickly, can anyone go somewhere particularly for more information on this?
Yeah, we have a few resources right here in New Zealand. Organizations, Foresight is one. Umbrella is another one. And check out the Resilience Institute run by Sven Hansen. He's a real authority on resilience.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Lovely to have you in studio.
Thank you.